take this one also. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. How many lines? We're in the middle of a story. The story goes, is this behavior coming? What? The story goes that Ula said the Berachos Hamazon, gave the wine to Rav Nachman, and then Rav Nachman said that she give the wine to my wife, to Rav Nachman's wife, and Ula said it's not necessary to give to your wife because your wife will get blessed through you, and since you took from the wine, so you don't need to give to your wife will be blessed as a result of you. The blessing comes through the husband. The wife is blessed. Want to make room for Mr. David to come in? So that's what he said, and the wife heard that Yalta was the wife. She was very angry when she heard that they don't want to give her to drink from the coast, that they're not giving her from the coast of Bracha. So she broke 400 bottles of wine. And now her husband said, I got to fix the situation. So the husband said, you know what? Give her from some of the wine there were other barrels that was the barrel most probably that they used to drink from this cup of wine of the kiddush. They had barrels in the winery, in the cellar, in the house, right? They had a place where they stored the barrels. But most probably there was wine nearby. There's more wine in the barrels. He didn't break all the wine in the house. So the rabbi said, you know what, take from that barrel of wine and let's pour a different cup of wine. You know, hopefully that will calm her down. But yes, we should get, meaning you see how upset that she is that she did not receive from the kosher bracha. So let's send her, let's if a person has a situation with their wife, everything should always be smooth. But sometimes if you see the wife's upset about something, so now the smart thing to do is appease her, make up with her, not to continue and make it a fight stronger and say, what are you doing? And all that. See what he did? We have some newly married guys over here at the table. He says, let's try to calm her down. So what does he do? That's the idea. The idea is not to raise the arguments. He says, let's send her another, and he sends a message. Her husband sends her a message. He says, Amalei Rav Nachman, send her another cup of wine. Let's send her another cup. He says to Ula, send my wife from a different cup of wine when the second wine lines. Now, and he sent it to her. And what did they say? And they said, Shalach la, and he sent her, and Rav Nachman said to say to Yalta, say to my wife, Kol hai nagvad debrichatahi. All of this wine that you're getting now is also included in the kosher bracha. Even though the rabbi held a different cup of wine during the time that he said the Birkat Hamazon, but this wine that's now I'm going to give you from the barrel, it's also covered, it's also part of that bracha. Now, some want to say that really that wine in the barrel is it's not kosher bracha. Kosher bracha is the wine that you said the Birkat Hamazon on. But he wanted to do that maybe a little bit of Mishanem Minei HaShalom, to create Shalom Bayit, to create peace in the house. He wanted to maybe stretch the truth a little bit, perhaps. You got to be careful with that. Anytime you stretch the truth, you have to be careful. But in order to create the peace in the house, he wanted to. He said that. That's how the Berachos says. He only said it to make her, to calm her down. But she says she knows this doesn't do the trick. This is not the kosher bracha. This wine that's left in the barrel. You see, there are those that might say that if you have, let's say, wine on the table, and you said, and you said the bracha on a cup of wine that was in your hand, but if it was on the table, that's right. Some say that could already be that connected because you said the Berachos mazon over while there was wine on the table. So, but if there was wine is in the barrel, so he said, so that's extending it. That's a little stretch. That's the barrel's not on the table. So what does he say? So, so she was a sharp lady. This lady, she wasn't, as they say, it's pushover, as the expression goes. What is kol ha? She says sholchalei. She sends back a message to her husband, madrei milei, from men that just go around the city and talk. You know, there are people that go around the city and they just constantly talk things that are meaning. They constantly talk things that are meaningless, right? They just talk, right? So meaning she's saying this is mimadure milei. This statement that you're saying that this wine from the barrel is part of the kosher bracha, that is like it's like the people who just talk and things that are not things that are not she was having. It's not true. It's not acceptable. And also umismartute kalme. It's like, you know, old garments that have a lot of lice. They're worn out. There's no real use for it. There's no real use for such garments that because they're so old, they, you know, the bacteria or the stuff that's in the garment keeps on producing lice, vermin. So that's those type of things have no use and not, and therefore he's saying these words and what you're saying are not acceptable. It's not useful what you're saying. It's like the garment that's already worn out. A nice new garment you could wear, doesn't have lice, doesn't have vermin. An old garment, it has no use because of all the vermin and the lice. So too, this is not useful what you're saying because it's not true. That's how the Gemara ends up. Omar Ravasi. The Ravasi says, Ein masichin al kosher bracha. You're not supposed to talk. Now, the one who gets, Rashi says, the one who leads the zimun, they give you the cup of wine. So from the time you take the cup of wine until you say the bracha, until you say throughout, don't talk. If you're leading the zimun, you're going to get distracted. It seems that there's an issue of distraction because that's like it's the language of like ein masichin is you're not allowed to talk. But I saw the idea is because it's going to take you away from focusing. So that's ein masichin al kosher bracha. Now the Gemara continues. The Gemara says, let's see what the Gemara says over here. Omar Ravasi, Eimar mevorchin al kosher peronios. You're not supposed to say a bracha on a kosher peronios. What's a cup of punishment? Yaron, you with me? Or about right before the cup? What's my kosher for? What's a cup of punishment? We say that you say like a paro gets got destroyed. You call that like a cup, and we drink wine. It might be symbolic of punishment to paro. But what does it mean a kosher?
Good morning, Rabbi.
So good morning, Mike. Good to have you back.
Thank you.
Every minute counts, Mike. So what does it mean? So in the old days, people were very concerned about zugot, about pairs, an even number. Because an even number, it seems that that's where the mazikim, there were certain demons or certain things that had power, used to have power. Some today we're not so worried about these things. And even in the old days, the Gemara says the only person, if you were worried about it, then they had power. Then you have to worry. Then they had power to damage. If you're not worried about it, they didn't have power to damage you. So this Gemara is talking about the time periods where they were concerned about zugos. That maybe that's why some people they donate 101. I presume that's behind the 101. They don't want an even number. They want a one or an odd, they want an odd number. I presume that's behind it, Mr. Abel. Do you think that's behind that?
Maybe.
I'm just sharing that idea because because they say Zugos is just it's an even number. So now the Gemara says, "V'omer Ravasi, ein mevorchin." You don't say a bracha on what is Amarav. You shouldn't say now. What does that mean? So Rashi learns the one who leads the Birkat Hamazon. If you had 1 cup of wine during the meal, if you had 1 cup of wine during the meal, they should not give you the cup of wine to say to lead in Birkat Hamazon, because then that's going to be cup number 2, and then that we don't want that. However, the Rosh explained that the Rabbeinu Yonah and the Rosh explained if you had 1 cup of wine during the meal, then you could give him the Gemara would agree you could give him to lead the Birkat Hamazon, because the kosher bracha is not connected to the cup to the wine that you have during the meal. When the Gemara says you can't say the bracha on a kosher puranos, that's if you had 2 cups during the meal, then you should not be the one. You should not lead the zimun. What's the problem? Because since you drank 2 cups during the meal, so the mazikim that do damage are already down there already by you. They have already come to you because you drank 2 cups by the meal, and therefore that person who's vulnerable for punishment, he shouldn't be the one to say the bracha.
Because you're going to do Mitzvah, so then you don't affect, right?
We said you don't join the cup of, meaning it's 2 total different cups. The one during the meal and the one at the one at lead the zimun, the different cups. It's a different cup. It will not. It's coming for a different purpose. So the mazikim will not have power to cause problems for the guy on cup number 2. Meaning if the cup number 2 is from the what? It's from the zimun. They won't come. They won't come because maybe the mitzvah will protect them. Right. One for the meal, one for the zimun. The zimun is a mitzvah. Therefore, they're not. It's not. Okay, but it's still not the same level. It's not a kosher bracha. So if you had 2 cups during the meal, then the mazikim already are on you. Some say another idea that if you had 2 cups of wine during the meal, so if you're going to lead the zimun, you know what's the problem? You're going to be afraid of the mazikim. If you're not going to focus, you're not going to have kavanah. How do you like that, Mr. Abel? And therefore you should not lead the zimun if you had 2 cups of wine during the meal, according to this opinion. That's the Tanya. The Brighter the Gemara says like this: Hashoter kiflayim lo yivarech. Someone who drank 2 cups of wine should not lead the zimun. Mishum shenema. Why? And not only that, he should do the zimun without a cup. Do the zimun without a cup. So that's how serious.
But when did this start?
Good question. When at what they just the commentary says in the bottom, but at today it sounds like maybe 8,000 years ago already it stopped already. Meaning at the time of the Gemara was a couple of thousand. But the time of Rashi
back in the day when
could be, but it seems like it stopped already many years mistake. It's not like a recent thing.
No,
Right. And then it says, if you drink 2 cups of wine, you should not say the bracha. The pasuk says, you should go ahead and prepare yourself to say a bracha in a proper fashion. But if you're saying the bracha when it's an even number, when it's as a result of zugot, so you're not saying the bracha in the right context. Just like we say, you should dress a certain way when you pray, because you have to come in front of Hashem a certain way. Say you come in lekras. So the amazing thing that the Gemara brings this pasuk. You come into you're calling out to God. You're saying kiddush. You're saying you're connecting with God in a very serious fashion. you have to be under a certain type of background, and you shouldn't be under the influence of zugot, of an even number that could bring harm to you.
It's only if you believe in the
It's only if you believe in the Mazikim, and only the no problem. 2 cups
and
do zimun, right? Or 1 cup and then do zimun, whichever opinion, right? Exactly. And we're not worried about that today. Amar Abavu, v'amila masisa tana. Abavu said, some say in the Brisa we learned, ha'ochel u'mahalef. Someone who eats and he walks. That means it's not a great thing to do, but he's eating and walking and eating at the same time. The rabbis say you're not supposed to have bread in public. It's not respectful to eat bread in public. But here they're going, let's say what are you eating? You eat whatever. To hear what we're talking about, it would seem like we're talking about Birkat HaMazon, and the guy's eating bread and he's walking. He's walking to work. He's having a sandwich and he's walking, putting it in his mouth. Let's say he's doing it not in front of people. So let's say he's walking in his backyard. You have to go ahead and stop. This opinion says you stop and you say your Birkat HaMazon standing. We don't require you to sit down. Now the halacha is going to say, Birkat HaMazon, it also says it's daraita, and we're strict. You have to say Birkat HaMazon sitting down. The Shulchan Aruch said you have more kavanah when you're sitting down. You're more focused. When you're on the move, when you're walking and you're standing, you're not as focused as when you're sitting, and therefore you're supposed to go ahead and say it's sitting down. Birkat HaMazon, so even if you ate, the halacha is going to be, even if you ate standing, even if you ate walking, you're supposed to go ahead and sit down. Standing in one place is not good enough to say the Birkat HaMazon. So look at the Gemara now. We'll see one opinion and we'll see the Gemara is going to conclude. Look what the Gemara says. The first opinion says you say the bracha standing. You don't have to stop and sit down. Just stop walking and say the Birkat HaMazon. You shouldn't be doing multiple walking and saying the. However, if you ate standing, say the Birkat HaMazon sitting down. And if you ate reclining on your side, sit straight when you go ahead and say Birkat HaMazon. It's like a little ga'ava, arrogant. It's not a humble way to say Birkat HaMazon. What? Right. So very good. So the commentaries discuss.
Even if you're standing when you eat, you have to.
Right. Very good. So, right, but even the Shema says, since some say since the Shema, some say only the first pasuk is Mena Torah, so therefore they're lenient, and they say by Shema you have to stop the first pasuk.
Yeah.
And some right, that's true. You could be standing, because but here with Birkat HaMazon, where the whole thing is at least the first 3 brachot Mena Torah, they're more strict. The Gemara says when you're reclining, sit straight, more humble, more respectful fashion. Say the bracha. Don't say a bracha like this. The Gemara answers, it concludes the Hilchata. In all situations, whether you're walking, whether you're reclining, whether you're standing, all situations you're supposed to sit down and say the Birkat HaMazon sitting down. The Shulchan Aruch says, but if you're traveling, if you're afraid, if you would stop, you're traveling, and you would lose focus of you would be distressed if you have to sit down. So then we would say that you do not need to sit down and stop your traveling to say the Birkat HaMazon. Ideally, if you're able to sit down, and that's the best way to do it. If you have the time and you're not nervous that you're losing the time. So sit down, even if you're traveling. It says if you're traveling on the road and you're eating, you do not need to sit down, but if you'll sit down, you're going to feel bad about losing the time. That's why there's such a concept, even by prayer. Sometimes that we say if a guy's traveling, if he's going to stop, he's going to lose, he's going to be distressed because he has a place to go and it's getting late. So we allow him to even to pray while he's traveling. There is such a concept. Okay. We should always have a lot of kavanah. Have a great day and mazel tov. We finished the 7th parak. Tomorrow we're going to start the 8th parak, and we welcome Mike back and Yaron back.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov to everybody on the finishing of the parak. Yes, and hopefully our Birkat HaMazon will be better. Thank you.
Mazel tov. Chazak, Rabbi.
Yes,
Thank you. Have a good day.
Good to see everybody.